Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for the second in a series of training sessions related to 702 KER 4:160 capital construction process and FACPAC, the SharePoint system used to administer construction projects. My name is Greg Dunbar. I'm manager of the District Facilities Branch. Before proceeding further, Jody Smith, who's the manager of the Data Support Branch, will provide some information regarding questions and answers. Next slide, please. Jody.
Good afternoon. The Q&A features of Microsoft Teams allow you to ask questions throughout the presentation. You would just need to click on the icon in the top right-hand corner of your screen with the question mark and type in your question. Be sure to include your name. At the end of this presentation, we will attempt to answer and address as many questions as time allows, and we will now begin the presentation.
Thank you, Jody. In the first session, we provided a basic introduction to capital construction process, BG1s and FACPACs. What are BG1s? When are BG1s required? Our BG1s are used by KDE. Initial BG1 project applications, revised BG1s, and we touched on the checklist associated with a KDE approved initial BG1. We answered what is FACPAC, who has access to FACPAC. We demonstrated where the FACPAC user guide is. We discussed FACPAC communications and system generated notices. We touched on creating a project, creating a BG1, submitting a BG1 to KDE, the relationship of a BG1 to the district facility plan, and fund sources. Excuse me. We also provide some recommended do's and don'ts related to the process. Next slide, please. KDE's review of capital construction process for projects is directly related to KRS 162.060, as we discussed in the last session. Next slide, please. Those capital construction projects are administered under 702 KR 4160, which promulgates the statute. No Board of Education may award a contract for the erection of a new building or contract for an addition to an alteration of an old building until a plan has been approved. District Facilities Branch also administers regulations regarding district facility planning and real property. Next slide, please. As a reminder, when you communicate with us, we would really appreciate if you identify the district in which an inquiry or communication is associated, and please do not say question or call. I'd also like a little bit to provide background on the capital construction process, which is built on a process that's embodied in the American Institute of Architects documents that was developed decades ago in conjunction with contractors and legal counsel. The regulation overlays on top of this long-established process local board responsibilities required by statute, as well as numerous other statutory requirements regarding legal notice, procurement, performance and payment bonds, certificates of insurance, use of district sales tax exempt status, to name a few, in addition to the use of design professionals. It is a linear process. FACPAC was designed to reflect this linear process. The project checklist associated with initial KDE approved BG1 outlines and follows that process. It's very important to understand the proper sequencing of submittals and the methods used for their submission. For example, Do not submit an owner-architect agreement or drawings before KDE has approved an initial BG1. I am now going to turn the presentation over to Denise Hartsfield, our FACPAC Administrator Guru. Denise.
Hi, everybody. I'm Denise. Next slide, please. Your FACPAC notice. After your initial BG1 is approved, you'll get a system-generated FACPAC notice. This notice is going to give you a link to the form, the most recent comments on your BG1 approval. You'll also get a link to your checklist and the assigned tier. Everybody that's assigned to that project will be given that notice. If you click on the link to the form, it brings you directly to that form. If you want to see something besides the most recent comment, when you get to the form, click on the tracking tab. It'll give you every comment that's ever been made about the project. All FACPAC forms will get a FACPAC notice with a link to the form and the most recent comments. You'll get a notice with approvals or if the form is incomplete. If we need something else on that form, we'll send it back incomplete, and the comments will tell you what we need. Next slide, please. This is an example of the BG1 approval system message, but they're all pretty much the same. They give you the form, the link to the form, and the most recent comments. You also notice on the BG1 approval form, you can click on your Tier 4 to give descriptions of the tiers and click there to get your checklist. Next slide, please. Okay, your FACPAC checklist. This is system generated and it pretty much tells you what we need for the project. And you can access that from your project form screen. Next slide, please. On your FACPAC project form screen, in the gray bar in the middle, click on checklist and it'll bring up your checklist. And then further down, you'll see that the checklist comes up. You can either print it or view it. And this will tell you the items that are needed for this particular project. Next slide, please. Okay, the checklist tells you what we need. Where do I put them? Documents are submitted to FACPAC in two ways. It's either attached to a FACPAC form or it's uploaded to My Document Submissions. Your home page, you'll see your FACPAC forms are normally just listed on your left, and your My Document Submission sections is on the right. Please note though, districts, you're responsible for maintaining your own data. FACPAC is not a document repository, so just keep that in mind. Next slide, please. Tiering. Tiering is an automated evaluation of the project. Was developed. It's according to funding sources, the scope of the project, how complex it is, the cost. A lot of things went into developing that. And it's helped streamline the project. After your BG1 is approved, your tier is assigned. Please note your project tier can change with a revised BG1. It can either go up or down, either way. And remember that your approval of your BG1 has a link to your tier definitions. So when you get it and you see it's a tier whatever, you can just click on that and it gives you a definition of the tiering. Next slide, please. And here's some tier definitions. And tier 1 would probably require everything, where a tier 4 would require less. Next slide, please. And then the GESC, that checklist is pretty much not changed. And then for cooperative purchase or emergency. Next slide, please. Okay, your document submission process. After your online FACPAC form is completed, it's printed, brought before your board for approval, then it's signed and dated by all appropriate parties. Then it's scanned, saved as a PDF, and attached to the online FACPAC form with all other relevant attachments. The FACPAC form with the attachments is then processed to submit it to KDE. Please remember to attach everything that's needed to the form before you process it, because otherwise we'll have to return it. Also, remember to complete all the different sections on the forms, because if information's missing, we've got to send it back. Next slide, please. Okay, FACPAC form statuses. Now these are on your tracking tab on every FACPAC form. These are examples of form statuses for a BG1. They're saved, submitted for financial review to your project manager, then the branch manager, and then the director. There's also a status of approved, and there's incomplete. If it's incomplete status, it means we've had to send it back to you because we need more information. Every FACPAC form has the status of saved, incomplete, or approved. If you check your form and it's in the save status, it means you've created it, but you've not processed it to submit it to us yet. So if you think you haven't heard from something, check your status just to make sure it has been submitted to us. If it's incomplete, that means there's some more information we need. And the comment section in the tracking tab would tell you what we need. Let's see. Also, once your form is approved, if it's an approved status, there can be no changes to that form at all. It's kind of set in stone. To get your form to us, remember you have to hit process. And please try to have all your documents attached to the form before you process it, because otherwise we'll have to send it back to you. Next slide, please. Okay, some do's and don'ts. Do, when communicating with KDE, identify the district in the subject line. We really do like to act like you're our one and only, but there are 171 districts, so please give us the district. Your FACPAC system generated notices, make sure they're not going to junk mail or clutter. And then please view your checklist. It just helps you out with what you need to do for us. And then verify that your project has been submitted to KDE, that it's not in a saved status. Next slide, please. Please don't use any old forms. We can only use the new forms now. And don't submit your project documents until after your initial BG1 is approved by KDE. Next slide, please. We're going to have some future training sessions, and we'll be discussing document uploads during the design phases, post-bid revised BG1s and related submissions, submissions during the construction phase, your BG4 construction closeout, your BG5 project closeout, and site acquisitions. Next slide, please. And now I'll turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Denise. Here's contact information for both Denise and me. Next slide, please. And contact information for the 4 staff architects in District Facilities Branch. Next slide, please. As we stated in the first session, Jeff Coulter is our Education Financial Analyst. And as noted in a previous slide, he's the first person at KDE that sees a BG1 when it's reviewed. He's also the person who provides approval in KDE's bond sales system for a district to sell bonds. And that's based on approval of the post-bid revised BG1 by District Facilities Branch and our Director, Jay Ritter. The document submission requirements associated with the approval of a post-bid revised BG1, as Denise said, will be the subject of a future training session. So we'll go into more detail about submitting documents during the design phase, as well as the post-bid documents that precede the construction phase, and then the documents needed to close the construction contract out, the BG4, and to close out a construction project, which is the BG5. Next slide, please. As a reminder, PowerPoint will be posted to the web page. And Jody, do we have any questions today?
We did receive one question. I went ahead and answered it and published the question for everyone to view, as well as the answer. The question was, I submitted a BG1 in FACPAC on Tuesday of this past week and I did not receive an email. How long does it take to receive the email? The answer that I provided was you will receive an email once the BG1 has been approved. You can refer to FACPAC to see the current status of your BG1, as there are several iterations of review before final approval.
Right, and the regulation allows 30 days for a review and approval of a BG1. We certainly try to do it in much less time than that. We routinely meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 o'clock to review BG1s. So, frankly, we had to cut our meeting short today in order to prepare and present this presentation. So, immediately after this is over, we'll reconvene our BG1 meeting, and your BG1 may be addressed at that time. It's on my dashboard. I will either move it along to Che, or we will return it incomplete, as Denise has described, and describe the actions needed for you to resubmit it. Any more questions?
As of right now, we don't have any additional questions.
Well, someone may submit something. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for attending. Today's training has been relatively short. For some of us, as you might, as I just said, we'll try to use it for other productive purposes. And we'll be advising you of the scheduled training for April, which thankfully March is a longer month than February. We may have a few extra days to prepare. Jody, have we received any other questions?
No, sir, we have not. Greg, you may want to let them know what your next training content will be, if that's something that you have, or you may want to ask people if they have suggestions on things specific to FACPAC or the construction process that they would like to be trained on.
Well, the intent is to try to go through it in the same linear fashion that the regulation in FACPAC is configured. Certainly, we would welcome any other questions related to those, and we'll try to address them. You know, once we work our way through capital construction and FACPAC, we're going to move on to district facility planning and start a series of training on the planning process.
Greg, we do have an additional question. A couple actually, we're giving people the opportunity to enter their questions. So the first question that we have is, if additional documents are requested, will you receive a notice, or do we need to alert you that those have been sent or submitted?
Well, as Denise said, you know, when a BG1 is sent back to the district, you can check its status. If it comes back incomplete, we try to provide comments in the tracking tab that give you the information needed to fully address those issues. Sometimes they may be more complex than, you know, a few lines will allow, and we'll say contact the appropriate staff architect and Denise, depending on the nature of the question.
Also, when you, let's say we requested another document after you've attached it to the FACPAC form, and then once you process it to send it in to us, then we will be notified that we've got a FACPAC form to check on. It'll go into one of our dashboards.
Okay, we do have another question. The question is, will you be conducting a training on bidding and FACPAC?
Now, bidding is conducted at the local level. I think, excuse me, if the question can be a little more specifically asked, we'll try to address that. You know, in the typical process for any tier except tier 4, we will receive a construction document submittal, and that will include the final plans and specs, as well as the project manual that contains the invitation to bids, the form of proposal, and after we have approved those documents, we give permission for the district to advertise and receive bids. The results of those bids, you know, what we call post-bid information, and after a project has been bid, the BG1 is to be revised to reflect the outcome of those bids, including any alternates that are accepted and any purchase orders that the district desires to use its tax exempt status for the purchase of materials. And that's the information that we review. We get the revised BG1, we get the proposed contracts, we get the KDE purchase order summary form after bids. And once we have all that information and it's reviewed and is complete, we can approve that post-bid BG1 and a bond sale can occur if a bond sale is associated with the project. I hope that answers the question.
The person who posed the question responded to your request for a little more clarification and specified the forms, contracts, POs, etc. after bidding. So I think the question is more about how to utilize FACPAC in conjunction with the actual business process. And so, Greg, if I might, I would like to take the opportunity to, I know in 2017, when this application was implemented, when we rolled out FACPAC, we did do regional training on that, on the system itself. The document that was used to train that is available to you in FACPAC. So in the left-hand navigation pane on FACPAC, you will see a link for a user guide. That user guide walks you through the entirety of the process from the BG1 to the BG5 in regard to the application itself, in regard to FACPAC itself. It includes screenshots and instructions on how to create, submit documents, how to upload documents, things of that nature. We are in the process of reviewing that user guide for updates for anything that might have changed in the last few months that it doesn't include. But that is one tool that you can utilize in addition to these trainings, these monthly trainings, to give us the opportunity to emphasize some of the more pertinent parts of FACPAC.
Okay, so that we will make that point of emphasis in a future training session.
Okay. We do have a comment from a participant that says that they would love to have a step-by-step model of a construction process in a training sometime, and it would be nice if some of the munis entries were included.
Well, I'm going to be honest, we do not deal with munis in our work area. And I understand from conversations with Jay and with facilities directors that, you know, maybe there needs to be a more, I guess, identified crosswalk between the funds that we use, which we basically refer to as restricted and unrestricted, and, you know, those munis accounting codes, which none of us have a great deal of familiarity with. So we may have to pull in some additional resources in order to adequately do that. And probably end up asking Jeff and maybe have him pull Steve Wiles, who's a former district finance officer, to help with that one.
Okay, we have an additional question that says, once a BG1 is approved, is it possible to change the funding if different funding options become available?
The answer to that is yes. As we discussed in the last training session, we frequently get revised BG1s. There is an option when submitting that to identify the reason for the revision, and that option would be a revised fund source. Denise can talk a little bit more in detail on that, I think. Denise, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. Yes, as long as as long as it is an appropriate fund source, no problem. You'll just create a revised BG1, and the reason for revision would be change in funding source. The revised BG1 will pull in all the information from your initial BG1, and you just make any necessary changes on that. And then, of course, that gets before the board, printed and signed and all that good stuff. And then after all the appropriate documentation is attached, process it to submit it to us, and we'll get it through the system as quick as we can.
All right, and I'd like to say too that over the course of the last year or so, more fund sources are becoming available. I think most everyone is familiar with the school security funds. There's a process in place for that. And that process is described. There's a tab under the district reporting branch that describes that process. Denise and Jana Cox work with that routinely. If you need any assistance, call one of them. Even more recently, the ESSER1, ESSER2, and maybe, not sure what they're going to call this next round, federal funds are coming available. And we're trying to work through that process right now. And I'm sure that many of you all will want to take advantage of some of those when used appropriately. I'd like to take this opportunity to say that District Facilities Branch will not be making the determination on the appropriate use of those funds. There's a grant management program at KDE under which grants and federal funds are administered. And there is a superintendent's assurances provision in that, what's called GMAP, that we will ask to be attached to a BG1, much like a school security fund request or a capital funds request, and those funds be identified under other fund sources available on the BG1. And as Denise has said, a PDF of that documentation attached to the BG1 when it's submitted to us. Hope that answers and possibly over answers the question.
Okay, Greg, I believe this comment that has been provided is a suggestion and or a request for future trainings. Someone has indicated that a model of the FACPAC process along with board action and agenda items required in the required sequence would be helpful. So that's just something that we'll make note of for future training content.
Okay, I would remind the folks attending that, as I said earlier, the sequence is fairly straightforward as provided in the regulation. In fact, FACPAC follows that, but we'll be happy to provide maybe a graphic representation or something that can better describe that.
At this time, we have no further questions or comments, Greg.
Okay. Well, thanks, Jody. Thanks to all you who have participated and for your questions. And we'll try to, for those that weren't answered directly, we'll try to address them in future sessions.